This is Jackanory Jr. Hello, I'm Sally. When you're small, everything around you can seem very big and very scary, can't it? Today, I'm going to tell you 2 stories about little people. The first one is all about Humpty Dumpty's shy little sister, Dimpty. The Dumpty family were part of a travelling circus. Along many roads they bumped, down icy winter highways and up summer country lanes from town to town. As he grew, Humpty turned into something of a tearaway. "Sit down, Humpty," his mum often said to him. "One of these days you'll come a cropper." Dimpty grew too, and like her brother, she was shy and timid as a field mouse. Her small voice lost itself in the noise of the wheels and the dust of the road. But it was in the dust of the road that one day a gift lay waiting for her. It was Dimpty's father, Dominic, who found the old pen. He removed the case and, from the inside, made his daughter a little silver flute. Dimpty's first notes were soft as a breeze itself. There was always much to do when the circus came to town. The hen had to be fed and watered, ropes to be pulled, pegs to be hammered in, the big top to go up, and there were shows to be performed. Dimpty watched as her family applied the paint, dusted their hands, and became the tumbling Dumpties. "Won't you join us, honey?" asked her mum, Dorothy, before each show. Every time, Dimpty shook her head. "No, thank you," she replied. At showtime, the tumbling Dumpties brought the circus crowd to its feet with breathtaking displays of danger. To Dimpty, in the shadows below, her mother looked beautiful, transformed like a butterfly. But as the crowd roared and the spotlight pushed like a bright finger across the tent, she would look for a quieter place. Up above the circus ground, she blew her silver flute. One hot summer day, when Humpty's tumble was over, and their parents were still spinning and turning in the top of the tent, Humpty and Dimpty opened the roof of the caravan. Dimpty's fingers found a little cool tune on her flute. Humpty's fingers found his mum's lipstick. "That's not too clever, Humpty," gasped Dimpty when she saw what he was doing. When their parents returned from the spotlight, moisture still drying on their hot shells, Dominic's foot tapped and Dorothy's finger quivered. "Clean it off right now, Humpty," said his mum, "or trouble will come knocking at your door." And trouble did come calling the following afternoon, when Humpty, once more with time on his hands, found a spray can by the old factory wall. Humpty climbed onto the wall, sprayed his name, and slipped. Crash! Passing soldiers and their horses were no help at all. "It's only an egg," says one soldier to another, and they returned to their barracks. Far away, on the other side of the circus, Dimpty heard a tremor in the wind and felt a flutter right down deep in her little shell. She picked up her skirts and ran. She tried to stop passers-by. "Please help my brother," she called, but nobody heard her. There was only one thing to do. Once more she ran. Dimpty reached the tent, slowly crept inside, and found her voice. "My brother has taken a tumble and needs help!" And help came immediately, with Dimpty leading the way to rescue Humpty. In hospital, Humpty received lots of visitors and lots of chocolates. Even the soldiers came when they heard it on the radio. "We are sorry, Humpty. What can we do to make up for this?" they asked.
"A ride on your horse when I get out?"
asked Humpty at once. "A big cheer for Dimpty, and as many of her brother's chocolates as she can eat," said a clown. Somewhere, down behind her mother's skirts, Dimpty blushed. Dimpty is still shy and timid as a field mouse. She has never returned to the spotlight, nor joined the tumbling Dumpties. But she has changed, and there's been a change around the circus too. In the mornings, when the bright lights from last night's show are only a memory, Dimpty's silver flute can be heard in the sunlight and the shadows of the circus grounds. The high notes fly like swifts on a summer's morning, and the low notes whisper like wind in the pine trees. But Dimpty's tunes can still be heard right across the circus ground. They sparkle like sun on the water. "It's the music of the heavens," says the ringmaster. "Let the tent come down, but all in good time." Only when she can play no more does the tent come down, until the next stop, and the next show, somewhere down the road. As for Humpty, he made a full recovery and has put away his spray can. He is now on the trapeze with the tumbling Dumpties and rides the soldier's horse in an act of his own. This story is all about some creatures who were even smaller than Dimpty. They first appeared in a garden belonging to a little girl called Annabelle. They were a family of fairies. It's called Jethro Bird, Fairy Child. Annabelle's dad had little time for fairies. "Sadly, Annie," he said, "you won't find fairies in cement and weeds, so far as I know." Annabelle had lots of time, and every day she looked, even under her brother Sam. On Saturday, something bounced off the service station driveway and hit the fence. There she met a boy as big as her finger. His wings shivered in the breeze. "Who are you?" she said. "Jethro Bird. I'm a fairy child." What Annabelle saw next made her hold her breath. A roadside hot dog van dropped from the sky and lay among the bottles and cans. A family of fairies heaved and pushed. "Help us here, will you please?" came a voice from the weeds. Annabelle gently put out her hand to set the van back on its wheels. "Thanks," said the voice. "And to whom do we owe this pleasure?" Jethro's dad, Bird, bowed deeply from the waist. "He means, what's your name?" said Jethro. "Annabelle," Annabelle said. "What a lovely name," said Lily Bird. She kissed Annabelle on the cheek. "That was one of Offin's not-so-good landings," said Grandma Bird. "Nearly hit the top of the service station," added Lily. Offin looked cross. "Well, we all agreed to come down for tea," said Offin. "My mum will make you tea," Annabelle said. Lily's bells and bangles tinkled around her ankles. "We would love to come to tea," she said. "Let's go," said Jethro. He did a backward air skid over the fence. "Mummy and Daddy, this is Jethro Bird. He's a fairy child, and his family have come to tea," said Annabelle. "Well, we must make them welcome and make them some tea," said Mum. But she was looking the wrong way. "Can you see Jethro, Daddy?" Annabelle asked. "I think I can, Annie. I think he's on the fence." "Why doesn't my dad see you?" Annabelle asked Lily. "He's too grown up, Annabelle," she replied. "He doesn't have time for fairies." Do you have time for fairies, Mummy? Annabel asked. Oh, I've got time to make your friends tea, replied Mum. Or maybe they have a magic wand. Can you make magic? Annabel asked. The birds shook their heads. We just make hamburgers, said Offin Bird. Annabel's mum bought fairy cakes and chamomile tea in fairy cups. Annabel gave cake to all her guests. Offin Bird's foot began to tap. He wiped his fingers and reached for his bag. Inside was a tiny fiddle. That afternoon for Annabel, time stood still. Lily danced with her charms and bracelets tinkling like wind chimes. Baby Cecily slept soundly, while Grandma sang a slow, sad song, clear as a church bell. We must go, Offin said at last. Annabel's hands flew to her face. But you can't, she said. Oh, you can't possibly. She added, go, I mean. Where to? To make hamburgers at the fairy travellers' picnic, said Jethro. We go every year, and I have to run in the races, and I always come last. And I don't want to go. Maybe Jethro could stay with me, Annabel said. We need you, Jethro, said Lily, to help make the ice creams. Jethro sulked a bit. Then he said, maybe Annabel could come with us. I would love to come, said Annabel. Please take me with you. The bird family whispered together. Finally, Jethro took something off his wrist. It's for you, Annabel, Offin said. It's a fairy watch, telling fairy time. And time goes slowly by for fairies, said Grandma. We're sorry we can't take you with us, Lily went on. But fairies are this size, and humans are... well, you're just too big. Will you come again? Annabel asked. The fairy watch fitted exactly round her finger. I'm sure we will, Jethro replied. Just don't forget to wind the watch. And keep looking, said Lily. Annabel carefully put the van on the driveway. The engine coughed and spluttered. Wild flowers burst from the tailpipe. The van cleared the service station roof and headed out west into gathering dusk. Look at my ring, Daddy. It's a fairy watch telling fairy time, said Annabel. That's lovely, Annie, replied her dad. He saw nothing, but baby Sam did. His fingers left cake and icing on the glass. I did find fairies in our cement and weeds, Mummy, said Annabel. And that night, the watch strapped tightly around her finger, Annabel saw more fairies. From rich houses, poor houses, caravans and car parks, they rode in the moonlight to the fairy travellers' picnic. And long after she fell asleep, their busy chattering and the buzzing of their wings and their faraway music filled her dreams. So watch out for fairies, won't you? See you again.